Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I'm Dr. Kem, and today we're doing something really exciting. We are jumping into a complete, cinematic, experimental video journey right into the thermodynamic heart of our cities. We're going to be looking at some seriously cutting-edge environmental data, architectural models, and high-tech simulations to figure out exactly how we can hack our urban temperatures. So if you've ever found yourself wondering why one part of a city feels perfectly cool and breezy, while another part just feels like a suffocating oven, well, you are definitely in the right place. Let's get into it.
First, I want you to trigger a sensory memory for a second. Think back to a really stagnant, hot summer night. You know that feeling when you step off a nice patch of grass on a city asphalt, and you can literally feel the heat radiating right up through the soles of your shoes. The air just feels heavy, kind of trapped between all those concrete walls. Why exactly does that happen? And maybe more importantly, how do we fix it? That is the exact problem we are about to decode today.
To properly diagnose and solve this, we need to quickly nail down our core term. We're talking about the urban heat island effect, or UHI. Basically, this is the super well-documented phenomenon where urban atmospheres and the physical land surfaces underneath them experience significantly higher temperatures than the suburban or rural areas just outside of town. And actually, it's not just a minor inconvenience. It's a really complex thermodynamic problem that impacts absolutely everything, from our grid's energy consumption all the way down to human health.
Okay, here is our roadmap for today. First up, the urban heat island problem. Second, the science of the urban canyon. Third, simulating the city microclimate. Fourth, a global heat simulation tour. And finally, designing cooler future cities.
All right, part one, the urban heat island problem and the root causes of all this city heat.
Let's look at the primary drivers of this effect. It's essentially a recipe, right? When humans settle and build, we inherently strip away natural cooling mechanisms. We swap out vegetation, which normally cools the air through evaporation, for high-absorbing materials like concrete and asphalt that just soak up and store heat. On top of that, we pump out anthropogenic heat from our cars, our massive AC units, our industrial plants. But the absolute most crucial factor for our discussion today? We actually change the physical shape of the land. We build geometric canyons that block the wind and trap radiation.
Which brings us nicely to part two, the science of the urban canyon and its geometric mechanics.
What's really fascinating here is the underlying math. It completely forms the foundation of modern urban climatology. Back in the 1980s, a brilliant researcher named Timothy R. Oak came up with this simplified empirical model. The absolutely crucial part of this equation is that H over W right at the end. That represents the aspect ratio, literally the height of the buildings divided by the width of the street. Oak proved that this one single geometric relationship is one of the most powerful predictors we have for a city's maximum heat island intensity.
So to put Oak's math into a relatable analogy, a high H over W ratio simply means you have less visible sky above you. When you're standing on a narrow street flanked by towering skyscrapers, it acts exactly like a natural rock canyon out in the desert. During the day, the solar radiation bounces around, reflecting off the building facades and getting absorbed. And then at night, because the sky is blocked by all those buildings, the city literally cannot radiate its stored heat back out into the atmosphere. The heat is just trapped.
Let's move to part three, simulating the city microclimate using some highly advanced simulations.
Check this out. This 3D Geographic Information System, or GIS, beautifully shows the leap from that raw math we just talked about straight into spatial reality. Notice how the colors shift from block to block? This simulation takes Oak's model and automates it across a mapped grid. It shows researchers exactly how the heat island intensity fluctuates based on the highly specific heights and street widths of individual neighborhoods. It proves that urban heat isn't just a uniform blanket over a city, it's extremely localized based on the exact geometry we build.
Now, to get truly accurate forecasts, climatologists realized they had to upgrade their tools big time. Historically, older models used what's called a bulk parameterization approach, or BPA. That essentially treated a city as a flat grid with just some adjusted roughness. Kind of basic, right? But the newer, gold standard is the urban canopy model, or UCM. The UCM actually calculates the 3D geometric features of the buildings themselves. It models exactly how a specific skyscraper blocks the wind, or how it reflects shortwave radiation down onto the street below. It treats the city as the true three-dimensional terrain it actually is.
Okay, part 4. We're going on a global heat simulation tour to see these tools in action.
First stop, Guangzhou, China, right in the middle of a severe heat wave. Researchers ran an advanced UCM simulation here, and it successfully reproduced this intense nocturnal heat island effect of about 3 degrees Celsius. That means at night, the urban core was a full 3 degrees hotter than the surrounding areas. The crazy thing? The older flat models completely failed to predict this extreme intensity, simply because they couldn't account for how Guangzhou's densely packed buildings were physically trapping all that heat long after the sun went down.
Let's zip over to North America now and see how this builds into neighborhood-level forecasting. This data comes from an urban weather generator model run in Toronto, specifically projecting into future climate change scenarios. Just look at the stark contrast here. The Bridle Path neighborhood, average building height of just 7 meters and a really healthy tree coverage ratio of 28%. Now look at the financial district. Towering 95-meter buildings, 51% of the site covered in concrete, and a dismal 8% tree coverage. It's basically night and day.
And the crucial takeaway is how those numbers translate into reality. The simulations reveal that under future climate stress, that densely packed, towering financial district is going to experience significantly higher hours of dangerous heat stress compared to the green, low-rise bridle path. The microclimate of each neighborhood is directly, absolutely dictated by these specific urban design parameters.
Which perfectly tees up our final section, Part 5, Designing Cooler Future Cities, and how we actually design for relief.
To see a real potential solution in action, let's look at Mexicali, Mexico. It's a city with extremely arid weather. Notice the massive, sprawling purple zones on this land use layout? Those are industrial areas, and due to rapid expansion, a lot of them are now trapped right inside the urban fabric. Now look for the tiny, scattered green dots representing vegetation. They're barely there. This huge mismatch, all those high-absorbing industrial materials combined with a near-total lack of greenery, it just severely exacerbates local temperatures. But right here is the incredible payoff. When researchers ran dynamic simulations on Mexicali, they found something amazing. By implementing targeted mitigation strategies, specifically integrating massive green zones and cool high-albedo roofs across these industrial sectors, it offered a massive cooling potential of 5.8 degrees Celsius. Almost 6 degrees of cooling relief, literally just by changing out the surface materials and bringing in vegetation. That is a game changer.
So if we compile all the data from these global simulations, we essentially walk away with the cheat codes for lowering any city's temperature. Number 1, we have to decrease how much of the ground and sky we block with buildings. 2, urban planners have to carefully manage that H/W aspect ratio. You want streets narrow enough to provide shade during the day, but open enough to let heat escape at night. 3, swap out the dark concrete for cool roofs and highly reflective surfaces. And finally, number 4, we have to radically increase our tree canopies to bring back the natural, powerful cooling effect of evapotranspiration.
We really aren't guessing about urban heat anymore. The simulations give us a perfectly clear blueprint. But it does leave us with one very vital question to consider today. As the global climate continues to warm, I want you to take a look out your window. How is your city's geometry going to shape your future thermal comfort? Are you living in a canyon that traps the heat or a canopy that breathes? I'm Dr. Kem. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep looking closely at the world built around you.